Good morning, y'all.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Hey, how are we doing?
We're doing well. Well, we have two stories again today. We have an Old Testament story, and that's about Joseph. Do you know about Joseph?
He is the great grandson of Abraham. So it's Abraham, and then Isaac, and then Jacob and Esau, we just talked about. And Joseph is the son of Jacob.
That's right. Jacob is Joseph's daddy. Now, boys and girls, this is not the same Joseph that was Jesus's earthly daddy. So the Bible story, or the Bible that we have been using, the Spark Bible that our boys and girls have, and if you don't have one, let us know. We'll get one for you. It tells the story in 3 chapters. Now, I'm not going to read all 3 of the chapters, but I'm going to read the first chapter, and we're going to fill in the rest, okay? All right, so this is, if you're following along, boys and girls, this is on page 48. Joseph and his brothers. Jacob, remember, as PR said, that's his Joseph's daddy. Jacob lived with his family in a place called Canaan. He had many sons. One of Jacob's younger sons was named Joseph. Jacob spent more time with Joseph than with his other sons. He even had a special coat made for Joseph. It seemed to Joseph's brothers that their father loved Joseph more than he loved them. They felt sad and angry and jealous too. One night, Joseph had a dream. The next morning, he couldn't wait to tell everyone about it. I dreamed we were all in the field tying stems of grain together. Suddenly, I couldn't believe my eyes. Your grain made a circle around mine and then bent over. You were bowing down to me. Isn't that exciting? Exclaimed Joseph. Our grain did what? They laughed. Why do you think we would bow down to you like you were some kind of king? The brothers said angrily. Joseph hung his head and walked away slowly and sadly. And here he's wearing this multicolored dream coat too. You see?
Oh.
Ooh, fancy.
It is. The next night, Joseph had another dream. He excitedly told everyone about it in the morning. I had an even better dream last night. I looked up into the sky and there I was. I saw the sun, the moon, and the stars bow down to me. Isn't that amazing? He said. This time, his father was listening. Jacob was angry with Joseph and said, why do you think your mother and I would stand next to your brothers and bow down to you as if you were a king? I don't like the strange dreams you are having. They will never come true. Now his brothers and his father were really mad at him. Lucky for Joseph, Jacob decided to send his brothers off with the sheep for a while. Later, Jacob sent Joseph to find out how Joseph's brothers were doing with the sheep. As he was getting near them, his brother saw him coming. Here comes our dreaming brother. Let's get rid of him. And that's pretty harsh.
Yeah.
They planned. They grabbed Joseph and threw him into a pit. Ouch. The rocks at the bottom of the pit were hard and sharp. God, why are they doing this to me? Prayed Joseph. A group of traders walked by on their way to Egypt. The brothers thought they'd get rid of Joseph once and for all. They sold Joseph to the traders and watched as he was taken away. That's a horrible story. Oh my God. They're so mean.
Yeah.
It was awful. So they took him away. What happened next? They met somebody who comes into the story after that?
Yeah, he got sold to the household of a very rich man by the name of Potiphar. And Potiphar liked Joseph all right. I mean, Joseph ended up, he was enslaved, which is awful. But Potiphar started to like Joseph. And so he got by okay, I guess is a way you could say that. Like, he could have had someone who was very harsh towards him, but
yeah.
he did okay in the household. But there was a problem in that Potiphar's wife also liked Joseph, but in like a different romantic way. And she kept trying to come on to Joseph, and Joseph's like, no, I don't want to get in trouble. I just stay away. But she, got him into trouble. She was found with Joseph, and Potiphar was thinking like Joseph was trying to take his wife, and of course he didn't like that, and so he had Joseph thrown into prison. Um, and for all intents and purposes, throw away the key. And then while Joseph was in prison, he encountered two servants of Pharaoh who were also having dreams. There's people having dreams all over the place, and he interpreted their dreams, and those dreams came true. And so when one of Pharaoh's servants was let out of jail, he remembered that this Joseph knew how to interpret dreams and tell people what their dreams meant. And around that same time, just so happens, Pharaoh had been having dreams he couldn't figure out. And so that was
Remind the boys and girls who Pharaoh is again.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who is Pharaoh?
Yeah, Pharaoh. So Pharaoh was the king of Egypt. He was the ruler of all of Egypt. So Joseph had been taken off to the land of Egypt. And so then, back into the story, Pharaoh, who's an even bigger deal than Potiphar. Like Potiphar's just a citizen of Egypt. Pharaoh's the number one ruler of Egypt. And he was having these dreams that he couldn't figure out. And so his servant, who had been in jail with Joseph, is like, "Hey, I know this guy who can tell you what your dream means. You want to come get him?" And so he does. Pharaoh's like, "Well, I want to figure out what this dream means." And he comes and he gets Joseph out of jail to come and tell him what his dreams mean. And that sort of, I don't know where you're picking up in the Spark Bible, but that kind of skyrockets Joseph into a position of power because Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, is so impressed about what Joseph could do in telling dreams and telling what they mean that he puts him in a position of power. So he goes from like the bottom to almost the top. He's Pharaoh's number two. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a good summary, PR. I think a good place to pick up is meanwhile back at the ranch. Meanwhile, what's happening back with the brothers?
There's a famine, right?
Oh my gosh, you're right. There's a famine. What's a famine, boys and girls? For the boys and girls,
it means the land, in a sense, is turned against them, so they can't grow their crops. There could be a drought, so there may not be water, but it means for whatever reason, they're not able to grow crops to sustain themselves.
They're hangry.
Yeah, they're always hangry. Well, and here's the thing: is this is what Pharaoh's dream had been about over in Egypt. And so Joseph had interpreted that dream. He saw that they were going to have 7 good years of food and then 7 bad years of food. So he was able to tell Pharaoh, "Hey, that's what your dream means, and we need to get Egypt ready. We need to get Egypt ready for a famine. So we need to start collecting food now and saving while the crops are good. And then when the famine hits, we'll have all our food saved up so nobody goes hungry." And so they did that in Egypt, but they didn't have anyone in Canaan to tell them that because, Joseph's brothers shipped him off to Egypt. So they didn't have anyone there to warn them and say, "Hey, you need to start saving up food." So when the famine hit them, they were in a bad place because they had no food.
So, okay, so they're hungry, and do they feel bad about Joseph, what they did to Joseph? No? Yes?
Yeah. Maybe they're like, maybe us sending our brother off to Egypt to slavery might have something to do with it.
So what did Joseph do?
Mm.
Did he hold it against them?
No.
Well, it's interesting. He kind of did a test. He tested them in a way.
He tested them.
So when they came to Egypt and they met with Joseph, they didn't recognize him at first. Because first of all, they thought their brother was a slave. So if he was still alive.
Yeah, first of all, they thought they'd gotten rid of him.
Yeah, they thought he was gone, and if he was still alive, that he would be a slave. They had no idea what had happened to Joseph, that he would be in this place of power. And plus he's all dressed up, fancy, everything like that. It's been, 14 years ish, so 7 to 10 years since they've seen their brother. He's changed. So when they see him, they don't recognize him, but Joseph recognizes his brothers. So his brothers, who were mad at him and everything. Suddenly they're bowing down to him, like in his dream. It came true. They're bowing down to him and they're asking him for food. And so he kind of tests them in a way. He gives them the food, but he believe he took a cup of his, like golden cup, precious golden cup, and he slipped it into one of their bags of food, slipped it into their things, and then as they're getting ready to leave, he says, "Stop! One of you stole my cup." So he frames them, and he wants to see how they react because he stuck it in the bag of his brother Benjamin, who's the baby brother. Stuck it in the bag of Benjamin, and he wants to see what they're going to do. And so the brothers realize, like, oh no, he's been framed, he's going to be in trouble, he's going to go to jail. And they sort of put themselves on the line and say, no, take us instead. Don't take our brother. It's not his fault. They stand up for him, they take care of him in a way that they never did for Joseph. So it sort of tells Joseph, my brothers have changed, my brothers are different people. And then he finally reveals who he is. He's like, I'm your brother, I'm Joseph. I didn't die, and I actually did pretty well, and now you're here and you can come to Egypt and be with us in Egypt.
So Joseph turns out to be another one of these examples of a tiny little character, sort of the one that you wouldn't have expected much from, and then God uses that, his life, to tell such an important story and to play such an important role. Okay, New Testament story today is the Beatitudes. What Beatitudes is a big fancy word. What does Beatitudes mean?
Oh man,
it sounds like bad attitude, but that's not what it means at all. No. Beatitude means blessing. So blessing, let's think about that. That's a good thing. Blessing. All right, well, let's see what Jesus has to say about the Beatitudes. All right, this is they're in different one. The Beatitudes are in Matthew and Luke. I'm going to read the one from the Children's Bible, I think is the Matthew story, which is
are there pictures?
So again, yes. It's a little bit on a hill. He's on a hill. There we go.
Gotcha. We always want to see pictures.
Oh, I know. I'll show you the next one too. The Beatitudes. News that Jesus was coming had spread all over the town. Maybe he will make sick people well, some people thought. Maybe he will make hurt people walk, thought others. Everyone wanted to see Jesus. There were so many people. How would they all be able to see him? Jesus knew. He climbed up part of the way up a mountainside and sat down. Now all the people could see Jesus. Everyone waited. Someone yelled, "Quiet, I want to listen." Shh, mothers told their children. Then Jesus began to teach the people. Jesus said, "People who feel hopeless are blessed because God will give them heaven. Sad people are blessed because God will help them feel better. People who don't have many things are blessed because God will give them everything they need. People who want to follow God's ways are blessed because God will help them. People who treat others with kindness are blessed because God will treat them with kindness."
Oh, look at all the happy people there.
They're very happy. The yellow sunshine there. People who know what is right in their heart are blessed because God will be with them. People who make peace are blessed because they will be called God's children. People who are hurt because they try to do what is right are blessed because God will give them heaven. Wow. So many blessings. Did Jesus have anything more to tell the people? He did. Jesus told the people, if other people don't like you and they hurt you, say bad things about you, or tell lies about you because you are my friend, you are blessed. Be happy because God has a special place for you in heaven. The crowd became noisy. People were smiling. Jesus had blessed the people. What a happy. Oh, that is a happy story. Why do you think this story is in the Bible? The story of the Beatitudes.
I think that encouragement and I feel like it lays a foundation, right, for how we should interact and be with each other,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Mhm.
So notice the language here said that Jesus, he didn't give a sermon, but
Mhm.
he taught the people.
Mhm.
So I think of preaching as teaching. Whenever I say a words of a sermon, whenever I preach a sermon or homily,
Mhm.
I think I'm teaching every time I do this. I hope people learn something new every time. And I think Jesus is teaching the people, just like Daniel said, how to behave and be nice to one another, be good to one another.
Mhm.
And that sometimes when people aren't nice to you, instead of hitting them or um, going after them for revenge, then sometimes we realize that maybe that person hasn't heard about these blessings yet.
Mhm.
And we hope that they do so they can also receive these blessings and feel some joy that these people, these happy people, are feeling. What do you think?
I think, yeah, definitely. And it's encouraging, and it's reminder of uh, where is God in the midst of everything. And it's a reminder that God is with us even when times are tough.
And then I think it's like from the historical side of things, the Beatitudes challenge everything that was the norm of that
Yeah.
time. So when we hear blessed are the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, like the poor were looked down upon and treated poorly. And you know, pure in heart, peacemaker, all of these go against kind of normal cultural practices that Jesus would have grown up in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This was definitely new information for these listeners, for the people.
Hey, don't you have to preach on this next Sunday?
Oh, you're right. It is. It's on. This year. The Beatitudes comes up on All Saints. You're right.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
mean, we're gonna help you jumpstart your sermon prep, right?
it could be.
Maybe if our boys and girls have thoughts about the text this week, they could have their parents send you a message,
I would love that because I'm
and
always
they can help you write your sermon.
absolutely. All right.
All right, all right.
Everybody be well.
All right.
Oh.